Good.
Okay. Okay. So I'd like to start the class at 7, okay, because it'll be very dense, full of information and your input and questions and whatever. So I'd like to start at 7, and we'd probably go to 8:15, 8:20, something like that, less or more. Um, so you should bring a notebook to the class or keep notes. What would you have in the notebook? Jot down names of people that we speak about, like, for instance, Ivan Albright. Um, Write down questions that you have. If the questions really bother you, you could ask me about your question, or you could look them up. Um, if we mention another artist that you find interesting, look that artist up, or some idea. Um, and in your notebook, let your mind wander and write extemporaneously things that this is making you think of. Um, for the people who have been in this class before, or even for the new people, um, a class like this could be presented in a lot of different ways. So I am not saying that my way, my presentation is the best, but it's the best for me. Okay. So there are a lot of different ways of presenting art. And for me, when I look at art, what I'm interested in is an electrical charge or a buzz that comes off the art. Uh, what the maybe the French word would be a frisson, frisson. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but a like that. So then what follows is maybe you'd want to know more about the artist, or maybe you'd want to know more about uh, the history of when this was done, or maybe you would want to know who the queen and king were at that time, or maybe you would want to know were these union workers, or was this a social situation? Um, so it would lead you to other things. My point is that the starting point for me is that buzz. And if you don't feel that, no amount of looking is going to get it to you. I mean, it might, but in my experience, if you found out that Ivan Albright didn't look like the way you thought he looked, well, that could be interesting, and that might give you a surprise. Um, but basically, that excitement that when you see the art, it gives you something that reverberates. It, to me, is the whole thing. But that's just for me. So you know, there's a lot of different approaches to this. Um, so what I would do is present an idea, and I would um, ask you to ask questions or respond to it, and then for say 3/4 of an hour, and then you come in with your actual questions, or you're responding to what someone else says, they're responding to you, I'm responding to them. It's like goes around in circles. It's very, very, very nice. Um, I made a mistake on the announcement that I sent. I should have said that April 1st is a holiday. Instead, I said April 8th is a holiday. So The reason I did that is that uh, someone wrote to me. They said you were blaspheming. You were a blasphemer. Okay. Um, a psychiatrist wrote to me. He told me this. He said you're a blasphemer. So anyway, the reason I said this is that I'm not terribly religious. That's the first thing. And the second thing is I looked up the holidays, the school holidays in New York City, and I saw April 8th. The week of April 8th is the holidays. So I thought, fine, April 8th will take off. So in any case, we're not going to do that. We're going to take off April 1st. It's actually an important holiday. Okay. I mean, you can't go by me, but it is an important holiday. It's Passover. Okay. So April 1st is a class, and April 8th, if it's okay with you, April 8th um, will be will no, the reverse. April 1 is no class. April 8th is a class. Is that okay?
Hmm.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Great. That's terrific. So everything is the same except we're reversing those 2 days. When I write tomorrow or later today, I'll reiterate that. It's my fault, my mistake. Um, ah, this is important. You should keep track of your emails. Okay. Now in the last few years, I now understand emails. I've caught up with that. But now that I've caught up, people aren't using emails anymore. They're using they're using texts. Okay. So for the purpose of this class, you have to keep up with the emails, especially we're going to cancel the class, or especially this is a great exhibit, you should go and see it, or especially um, I'm adding some information for you. So, and if I say, just write back to me and say you got this, it's important to write back because, like I sent the link to you, you can't get on here if you don't have the link. Okay. So you have to sort of think that's the only way I can communicate. Okay. So, okay. So I wanted to give you one piece of personal information for people in or near New York City. And I'm going to send this out again, but there is an event that I'll be involved with on Monday, March 30th. It's at a place called the Center for Brooklyn History. And this is a very, very beautiful building, like an architectural gem in downtown Brooklyn, in on Pierpont Street, right by a school called St. Anne's School. And um, they have an exhibit on now, which has a drawing of mine in the exhibit. I forgot to add the drawing tonight, so I'll try to do that next week. But if you're interested, you have to register. You get a notice, and then you just simply register. You want to bring a friend, you say the friend's name, and my daughter and I will be conversing, and my daughter will be kind of interviewing me. And so, in any case, I hope you can come. Um, okay, so the people who are new, I would like you to say something very short about yourself. And I'll start. Um, and what I will say, what I want you to say is your name, um, what your connection with art is, and if you saw something or read something or um, visited some place that got you very excited, like a painting or a drawing or a book or a film or a dance, etc. So I'm going to start, and then I'm going to call on the people that are new. And this is going to be like 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes. So, okay. So I'm going to go first. Okay. So, my name is Simon Dinnerstein, but you should call me Simon. And I'm working on a quite a large painting, and I've been working on this for a while. And I may never finish this painting, but I'm working on this for a while, and I think, is a very important painting. Um, and that's all I do, actually. So I'm working on this painting, and I am actually from Brooklyn, born in Brooklyn, but not where I'm from now. I was born in Brownsville, Brooklyn, okay, which is not Brownsville, Texas. It's Brownsville, Brooklyn. Okay. Um, I saw an exhibit recently of Henri Rousseau in Philadelphia that I was very, very struck by. And two films I've seen recently, I was very impressed by. One is a film called Sentimental Value or Sentimental Values. I can't remember. And the second film is a film called Steve. Steve. Both terrific films. And a few days ago, I saw a play which is stunning. And the play is about an artist whose name is Henry Darger. Henry Darger. This is an outsider artist, like the king of outsider artists. And the play is called Bug House. Bug House. I highly recommend this play. So now I have a group of new people here. So we'll start with Mary.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mary. I am very good friends with Carla Carlson, who invited me to join. And that's primarily why I'm here. Um, I grew up in the Bronx and I now live in Manhattan. And at the moment, I'm visiting a friend in Florida. So there you have it. And all kinds of art interests me. So I do see plays. Interestingly, I've seen Marjorie Prime, and that is fascinating to me on how AI is now even discussed in a Broadway play. So if you're interested in stuff like that. And the other one is, and it's a story of, well, I should say, Marjorie Prime, Prime meaning that after somebody passes, you can have a likeness of them in your life forever.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's
Wow.
very interesting um, on how AI, how much a dead person doesn't evolve, even though they're
That's
anyway.
very interesting.
It's a
Very,
very interesting.
yeah, very,
And
very.
there's another one called Maybe Love, and it's about two bots who are retired to a retirement bot community, and they're pretty frustrated. They want to go back, and so they make this journey back to where computer person is, and they thought they would, be ready to go to work, and they're phased out.
What's the name
So
of that?
they,
What's the name of that one?
and that is, I think it's called Maybe Love or something about Maybe Love. It's so interesting.
And
Um,
it's about two what?
Bots, like um, they're not robots, but they're bots. They're two
Oh,
people
okay.
who worked
Okay.
inside a computer
Okay.
for, people. I don't know. Anyway,
Okay. So
very
I
interesting.
I reiterate Bughouse for you.
Okay,
Okay. So all right. So
I shall
now
see that.
okay. Now Susan Charney. The sound is off.
I'm, I live in Manhattan. I was originally from Hungary. I came to the States in '49. A long story, and I've had a long-standing interest in art. I loved um, my young adults, and I just loved going to MoMA, and it was free, and there were these wonderful lectures, and I remember having a sense of excitement discovering uh, what was then modern art. And um, I, um, I think well, I did see Marjorie Prime, and it's called A Hologram. I wasn't too taken by the play, and I'll
Huh.
mention that I am uh, the Museum of Jewish Heritage downtown for a while had some holograms. It's kind of a, and they dropped it. I don't know why, but there are no more holograms. But it is an interesting phenomena. Um, the last play, I don't go that often, although I'm here in Manhattan, but I'm going to see something called Mother Russia that's supposed to be excellent. And I'm going to see the Helene, the at I've been didn't get to it, but I understand it's a terrific exhibit. Um, and I paint as a hobby and draw. Um, yeah, the play that I loved, which was quite some time ago, was called Maybe Happiness, about two computer people.
Okay.
Uh,
This is
okay,
this is good. This is very good. Um, so then I have Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Auerbach. I live in Brooklyn now, but I grew up in the Bronx. Whoever was from the Bronx, what? Hello. I have always been surrounded by people who are in the arts. My closest friend in the world was an artist who later in her life developed Parkinson's and was able to literally make the most amazing things. She couldn't eat soup, but she could paint and she could
Mm,
sculpt and she
mm,
turned me on
mm,
to a lot of art. She wanted me to always do it, and since I believe I have no outward artistic talent except dancing, um, on Saturday I took at the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens a watercolor class. And it was really wonderful, and I learned a lot of things. And actually, I was quite surprised at what I walked home with. And it was great. It opened up, I did it in her honor because many years ago she had given me many of her, before she passed away, she'd given me a lot of her brushes and said, go home and play. And I said, you're crazy, because I don't, the voices in my head are too strong to let me just be. And I went to this class and it did open a door. So I want to see what goes out. And I have gone to the theater almost all my life. Way back when I did see the original Marjorie Prime, and the one I remember, I was quite young, was with, it was Moon for the Misbegotten with Colleen Dewhurst and, oh
mm.
God, who was she married to? Him, with him.
George
And,
Scott.
excuse me?
George Scott.
George
Yes.
Scott.
No, it wasn't. Was it him? Yeah. No, it wasn't him. I think it was somebody else. Maybe she wasn't married to him. And I was very, very young. My parents took me to the theater from the time I was very, very young. And the only other thing I'll say is when I was 12 years old, I saw Judith Jamison dance for the first time, and it changed my life.
Hmm,
Mhm.
that's great. Um, so now is Susan here? Morrissey. I think she said she might come later. Okay, so Wendy.
Hello, my name is Wendy, and I am a student of Kathy Fiera Mosca, who's a student also in this class. She's been my watercolor teacher for a while, and doing art is very new to me, and it's been very, very exciting. I'm from Brooklyn originally, and there were two things I thought of when you said to think of a piece of art. One was I came across a Mary Oliver poem that I think is called Franz, is it To Franz Marc? It was about Franz Marc's blue horses, which were not something I had ever seen before. If you've never seen them, look at them. They're very beautiful. And her poem was amazing and was about stepping into the painting and relating to the beauty and the fact that he later was killed during World War II and how to reconcile those two things, this beautiful thing he created and war, which is so obviously destructive.
What's the
Um,
name, what's the name of that poem?
the poem, I just had it. Just a second, I'm sorry. It's called Franz Marc's Blue Horses.
Say it again.
For Franz, Franz, Marx, Marcs apostrophe S, Blue Horses.
Okay, now I get it. I get it now.
Sure.
Um, um,
And the poem is by Mary Oliver.
okay.
But then the other, I just wanted to mention one other book, which was,
Sure.
I just read the original by Nell Stevens. And the main character in the book is a forger, basically. She's a copyist, but the way that she talks about art in it was absolutely fascinating. And the way she talks about color and what's the difference between an original and a copy. And there, it was fascinating and beautifully written. So,
Great, great.
yeah.
Terrific. Um, now, Anne, 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 Anne Piper.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, for some reason or other, I think of your name as Anne Piper.
That's as one word.
Yeah, one word, one
People
word.
do that. They just say the whole thing
I don't
together.
know why, Anne Piper.
You can call me that.
I
Say
will, I
okay.
will.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect. So I'm Ann Piper,
Great.
and I'm a art professor in central Pennsylvania. And this is my sabbatical semester, so I'm happy to have a lot of time to look at art and talk about it. And I'm really glad to have found this class.
that's great.
Through being friends with you on Facebook, I saw you mention something, and
That's great.
yeah.
Terrific.
So this is fantastic, and I just have I don't do or I don't watch as many movies or go to as many plays as I would like. I'm kind of in the middle of a lot of farmland, um, but I did want to mention two artworks that stopped me in my tracks that have changed my life.
That I could I just interrupt you?
Absolutely.
Stopping you in your tracks. That's what I'm looking for.
Yes.
That is what I'm looking for. Okay? It-
Yep.
You could add that to the other words that I mentioned, but stopping you in your tracks is what I want.
And I do too. And the first one was Ivan Albright's portrait in the National Portrait Gallery that I mentioned that influenced one of my pieces. It was was probably 15 years ago or so.
What's the name of his painting?
I don't know. It's an old woman like peeling potatoes, or
Oh
I don't
yeah,
remember the
yeah,
title.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know the painting.
Yep. And
Huh.
and and it just and I'd seen his work before, but only in reproductions, and I was interested in it. I knew he was good, and I knew he was someone that I wanted to see. But then seeing it in person was completely different, and it was a fairly decent size painting, and it just I spent so much time as close to it as I could be.
Terrific, terrific, wonderful.
And the other one was one of Jim Dine's figure drawings from the 70s.
Okay.
Um, and that was, I wish I could remember the title. It was like the model, uh, I can't remember the name of it, but it was like something about the model changing from one year to another, and he had both years in there. And so it was something that he worked on for a long time. And that one was also stopped me in my tracks, but it was the only time I've ever had a painting where it was so, or excuse me, that was a drawing, where it had a piece of art that was so strong to me that I had to look at it for a short period of time and then look away and then look back and then look away because I couldn't, it was almost too painful to look at
Huh.
continuously. But I loved it. And so those are two pieces that just blew my
So
mind.
I wrote to you about um, and quite a number of years ago, been being in an exhibit at the Susquehanna Art Museum.
Yep.
It did I get that right? Is that right? Right close?
Susquehanna. Yep.
Is that very
Yep.
close to you, that museum?
It's in Harrisburg, so it's about 45 minutes away.
Oh,
It's
okay,
very close.
okay,
Yep.
okay. Um, well, more on that later or soon.
Hmm.
I don't want to take up more time. So now, Barbara.
I'm Barbara Lawrence, and we're actually in central Illinois right now, but we are in Chicago on our way to move to Chicago full time, but we're just there half time now. And I'm a emeritus professor in chemistry.
Hmm.
I haven't really done art before. I've taken watercolor class and a drawing class a long time ago, but I love art, and I was just reminded of being in Los Angeles. There was an exhibit called something about the spirituality in art, and there was a George O'Keeffe painting that was I can't even I don't really remember. It sort of looked like a wound, and when I looked at it, I was fascinated and repulsed and had to look away, which is what reminded me of that painting. Um,
That's
I think
good.
I liked it, but I had a really strong reaction to it.
That's good. That's good. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you want to say more?
Well, I was just going to say that in Chicago, there's a museum of outsider art, and there's a room that's dedicated to Henry Darger
Oh,
in the museum. It's been recently renovated, and we haven't been there yet, but I assume that room is still there.
um, this play that I saw on Henry Dodger is a one-person play,
Ah,
and it recreates the room that he lived in. Okay.
as does this room in the museum in Chicago, I
How
believe.
interesting, interesting. And no one knew anything about what he was doing. That no one knew anything. And after he passed away, they found three books that he had written. The first book, I think, was 5,500 pages. Okay. The second book was a little over 5,000 pages. And the books had reproductions, drawings, all kinds of things in it. And some of the drawings were as large as 14 feet.
Mm.
but no one knew anything about him. This happened after he passed away. Um,
Excuse
oh,
me if I could just say I'm so glad that you brought that up, Simon. I won't have an opportunity to see the play, I don't imagine, uh, perhaps in the future. But I was familiar with Henry Darger for a long time. There's a film, a documentary about him that is very
hmm,
good.
hmm.
Uh, I'm familiar with a few outsider artists, and he is definitely one of the greats of outsider art. Fascinating.
So
But there are, with a lot of outsider artists, they did work in privacy.
yeah, yeah. But I just want to mention one more part about this, which is, I thought, very interesting. The man who plays Henry Dodger in this play is an actor, performance actor. His name is John Kelly, and I went to, I really went to see this because I like him as an actor. The reason I like him is that a few years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, somewheres around there, 12 years ago, he was in a one-person play um, in which he played Egon Schiele. And he actually looks a bit like Egon Schiele. But in the play, he became Egon Schiele. And it was really stunning. It's one of the few plays I've seen twice. And the play, you may be able to find this somewhere, a video of it. The play is called Pass the Blutwurst bitte. Pass the Blutwurst bitte. And he becomes Egon Schiele in this play. So I was curious to see what he would do with Henry Dodger, and it's just fantastic. So Charles, you're the final person.
So I'm Charles. I'm an emeritus mathematics professor at also at Eastern Illinois University.
What
Um,
of what?
Mathematics,
Mathematics. Okay.
um, and I did a lot of drawing and watercolor painting when I was a child and young teenager, or maybe even throughout my teens. Um, the last time I saw Simon in person was at our apartment where I grew up in Manhattan, and I must have been about 10 or 12. Um, and then in college, I took some drawing classes, which I really enjoyed, but I decided to go into mathematics. Um, but the visual part of me lives on in mathematics because I'm a very visual mathematician. I'm a geometer and topologist, and I do a lot of illustration for articles for my own papers and collaborators and colleagues. Um, and just recently just decided I needed to start doing art again, and
Wow.
starting to correspond with Simon was kind of part of inspiring me to do that. And what else can I say? Oh, well, there are two artists that I think of right now at the top of my head that really kind of knock my socks off in different ways. Not long ago, there was an exhibit at the Art Institute of Chicago by a Mexican artist who had immigrated from Germany called Remedios Varo.
Yes.
And we both just found her work just amazing.
I would have mentioned her if I could have remembered her name.
Right. Yeah, it was one of the few exhibits we went to multiple times. We just had to go back and go
Great.
back again and look
Great.
at the
Terrific.
paint.
The,
And then another artist that comes. Yeah, go ahead.
the second one.
Yes, the second one who I've really loved for a long time, and also she's an artist who really combines art and radical politics in an organic way, which is important to me, is Molly Crabapple. I don't know if
I
people
don't
are
know. I
familiar.
don't know that. I don't know that person. Molly Crabapple.
Hmm. That's
Okay.
not her original name. Her high school boyfriend said she should call herself Molly Crabapple because it suited her personality, and she kept
A
it.
fantastic name. Fantastic name. So let me just comment, and then I want to proceed my presentation. But the exhibit that I saw in Philadelphia was of Henri Rousseau. There was a second exhibit in Philadelphia, which I didn't know much about. It's an exhibit called Dream World or Dreamland, and it was an exhibit of surrealism at 100. That exhibit turned out to be unbelievable. Major, major, major exhibit. And they brought in work from all over the place. I had no idea. In the last room, there's a whole bunch of paintings by Remedios Vara
Um,
in the last room. And uh, there is a great deal of interest and painters who are women who are surrealists. I don't exactly know why, but Remedios Vara was one of them. And uh, in the course of presenting, I'll remember there were two others, um, uh, but I'm drawing a blank on them. But she is outstanding, uh, really outstanding.
Leonora Carrington.
Leonora Carrington was another one, and there was a lot of paintings by her. Who said that?
Philippa.
Oh yeah, you got it. And there was a third artist.
Dorothea Tanning.
That's right. That's right. You got it. You got it. You're way ahead of me. Dorothea Tanning, one painting, spectacular painting, self-portrait, and to the side of her are rooms and doors which go way out, way, way out. And she's just looking at you. Um, I think she's bare from the waist up. I think there's some kind of creature on the floor, a dog or something like a dog on the floor. And
Griffin,
then
maybe.
these doors go way out. Uh, Terrific painting. But she, Leonora Carrington, and Remedios Vara were the stars of the exhibit. So I'm going to see how much time I have for presentation on Henri Rousseau, and we'll have to improvise in terms of the time. Um, I'd like to show you. I have images to show you, but I just want to say something to start with. So um, we went to Philadelphia to see this exhibit at the Barnes Collection, and if you haven't been to the Barnes Collection, I highly recommend it. It is an amazing collection. Um, so Albert Barnes, um, his collection was for many, many years located in Marion, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia. Barnes was a very, very wealthy man, um, and his money came from something called argyrol or argur something, uh, ointments or drops for babies, for babies. He made a fortune on this. There are lots of people who made fortunes, not lots, but a good many. but there are extremely few of those people that collected art. And amongst the extremely few, they are extremely few of the extremely few that collected great art. He is one of them. He is really up there. And the art that he created was ahead of its time. This is an unusual collection of art like Henri Rousseau. He he bought art in quantities. So the stories go that he was sitting in a cafe in Paris. He looked up and he saw an artist and some of his work. And it turned out the artist was Soutine. He goes across the street, he goes up the stairs, he speaks to the artist, and before you know it, he's bought eight of them, eight at one shot. So his collection is probably like uh, $200 billion collection now. It's astronomical. And so this collection was located outside Philadelphia, and he was a very shrewd article, and he had a tax foundation. He had a foundation where he was receiving benefits for his collection. But he didn't let people go and look at the collection, but he got the benefits from having a foundation. But he was very picky and choosy about who would go, and it was by invitation. So he ended up being sued by the Attorney General of Pennsylvania. This is really, if I'm not exactly on target, this is 90 to 95% correct. So as the result of the suit, he opened up his collection to 100 people who came by letter, and 100 people who came, they just showed up. Okay? That's it. That was the compromise. Years ago, I remember driving down to Philadelphia, to Marion, with 3 or 4 friends, 2 or 3, Renee and myself, and we just decided to go. When we got there, we had number 92, 93, 94, 95, 96. After 100, no more, no more. Okay, so he also had a philosophy that was connected with his art collecting. I don't know too much about it, but what I do know is interesting. So anyway, he passes away, and his collection is in the hands of trustees. Maybe about 10 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that, a group of people push to have this foundation, this collection, brought to Philadelphia, right next to the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Now, this is all kind of questionable, but they do a very big pressure to move Barnes' collection from its original building to Philadelphia. This is actually kind of questionable. And there is a film about this called The Art of the Steal. And it's a film which kind of questions the legitimacy of doing this. But if you go to Philadelphia and you want to see the Philadelphia Museum and you want to see the Barnes collection, it's quite convenient, actually. It's much more convenient than going to Marion, Pennsylvania, and going to the middle of Philadelphia. So, in terms of convenience, it's better. In terms of stealing, it's it's not so great. Um, so Barnes collected Henri Rousseau, and he had 18 paintings of Henri Rousseau. Okay. Um, it was very interesting to see this exhibit at the Barnes collection. So the Barnes collection moved from Marion to Philadelphia. It is moved intact. It is exactly the way it looked. Okay, exactly. And every painting is exactly in the same position. This is a little crazy, but every painting is exactly in the same position. Barnes must have been a complete control freak because every painting could not be moved. And no paintings could be exhibited. No paintings were loaned out. Okay? This is really controlling. Generally, it works, but in a few instances, it doesn't. For instance, in the Barnes collection, there is an amazing, great painting by Seurat, a very large painting of three models in a room. If you know Seurat's paintings, you will remember this painting. Three models nude in a room. That painting is hung very, very high, like 15 feet high. And you can't really see it because it's so high. So, but it can't be moved because that's what he wanted. I have some shots which show the location of these, and in addition to showing the paintings, he also had sculptures which he thought spoke to the paintings. And in addition to that, um, metalwork which came from Barnes, um, weather things on Barnes, latches, American metalwork is hung with the pictures, with the sculpture, and with furniture. So each display was very carefully considered. Paintings, metalwork, all talking to each other, sculpture and furniture. Okay. Um, so Rousseau worked as a customs inspector, and he started painting at the age of 40. This is completely crazy, completely astounding. He started painting at the age of 40. He left his job to pursue painting at the age of 49. This is like totally remarkable. He passed away at the age of 66. So his dates are 1844 to 1910. Now, one of the things that I was very interested in, I couldn't figure out from the exhibit or from any of the reading was what would get him to believe this? What would get him to feel that at the age of 40, he should start to paint? And at the age of 49, he would leave his job. What kind of person would do that? Um, this is confidence, uh, a projection of a very strong personality, but it's really amazing because his work is very emblematic, very well composed, very graphic, but still it's hard to understand. So I would have liked to know more about that because it really was fascinating. His work in life puts him towards the top end of outsider art or self-taught artists. So in a sense, he is, oh, and his work is very surreal as well. So his work connects with surrealism, connects with Henri Dodger. How does Rousseau have the confidence, the vision to realize that he can be an artist? Well, let's put it this way. People have that confidence, but they don't pull it off. He pulls it off. Okay. So where does that come from? The exhibit kept this idea a mystery, but I or we would like to know more. His work has a childlike quality, but is also full of mystery. Um, there's a sense of humor in his art, and there's something very surrealistic. Now, he exhibits in Paris in exhibits which are called Salon de Independence, Independent Salon. And I think in that exhibit, the artists paid to show their work. Now, here, when he exhibits his work in these exhibits, he puts a great deal of effort into extra large paintings, extra large pictures, which are showpiece kind of pictures or um, philosophically strong paintings. He really, really struggles to keep going as an artist. He lives on a pension from his work as a customs inspector. So he does a lot of paintings that are very small to keep going. And then in these exhibits, he does these large, bold paintings. And these statement paintings have quite a following. This is quite unusual. I mean, this is unusual times a few. And these unusual coincidences add up to his work, his reputation. So Barnes writes or thinks about Rousseau in a particular way. And unfortunately, I read about this after we got back to Brooklyn. So in these images that I'm going to show, you'll see the um, walls, the grouping of pictures in the walls. And Barnes thinks of all the pictures in the walls designed together and speaking to each other, and in speaking to each other, speaking to you. Okay? I don't think of art that way. I think of art as individual paintings speaking to me. Okay. So when I look at the paintings, I'm thinking this one, this one, this one. Oh, and how interesting. This one is like that one. But he's really into that. And when he talks about Rousseau, he talks about how Rousseau's paintings were meant to speak to others. And that amplifies his philosophy of art. Unfortunately, the exhibit isn't on, and I can't go back to Philadelphia anyway, but I wish I had known that before. Um, okay, so sometimes Rousseau is called a naive artist. Naive artist. So a statement that I copied down from the catalog by a woman who was a follower of Barnes um, goes like this. Her name is Demazia, Demazia, D-E capital M-A-Z-I-A. For her, key to any naive personality was blind faith in the truth of wishful thinking. Sigmund Freud called it the omnipotence of thought, a key trait of magical thinking. This is very interesting. Barnes, another statement, and almost the last one that I have here. Rousseau's pictures have the charm of a child's fairy tale, but there is nothing childish or untutored in the skill in which they are executed. Okay, so um, let me see if I can do this. I'll show you some images of this from this exhibit and of the Barnes collection. So let me see. Um, okay, so this is self-portrait of Henri Rousseau. This was not in the exhibit, but is a very striking painting, large painting, and a lot of the motifs of Rousseau are in this painting. Self-portrait as an artist. Um, this painting is totally stunning, and it's from the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Um, um, this was the first painting that he exhibited in this grouping of exhibits called the Salon of Independence. So this is an early painting of Henri Rousseau. It is so confident and so beautifully designed and so mysterious. It's not a very large painting. I would say it's about 30 inches high.
Do you have the name of this painting?
You know, I don't remember the name, but you would see it if you just look up Rousseau.
Mhm.
Look up Rousseau, Philadelphia Museum of Art. Um,
Called a carnival evening.
the Carnival.
Evening.
Okay,
A carnival evening.
a Carnival Evening. Okay, it is just a wonderful painting, and it it has an enigmatic quality. So it's very clear, but it's unclear. I don't know who this is. Maybe it's his child, his daughter, but this painting was in this exhibit and is very typical of Rousseau's paintings. Um, um, I'm not sure if naive is the right word, but it's in that direction. Um, this painting is larger, and it struck me that the painting reminded me of three large paintings of battle scenes by an Italian artist, early Renaissance Italian artist. Um, Very large paintings. And
Uccello,
yeah,
Paolo Uccello.
thank you very much. I was drawing a blank on it. Paolo Uccello, yes. Um, but uh, starts painting at 40. This is so secure and so definite and so full of a graphic, grab you sensibility. It, I was very struck by the confidence in these paintings. Rousseau at one point, he he actually knew Picasso and was a friend of Picasso, and he says at one point something like um, and Picasso, who is the primitive, and I, Rousseau, who is the modernist. Um, so obviously he had a lot of confidence, but a lot of people have confidence. It's can you pull it off? Can you um, do you have the chops to back up your sense of yourself? That's different than just decrying or speaking well of yourself. Can you carry it off?
Does he use symbolism like the broken branch? Is that symbolic of something?
There is a lot of symbolism in his work, but I can't entirely decipher it. And I like that it's not, it's clear but unclear. I like that quality. Um, his work is also has a strong sense of humor about it, um, whimsy or humor.
Yeah.
So these dates are, I found, older than I had imagined, 1844 to 1910. So his dates correspond to Van Gogh,
Yeah,
Gauguin, Seurat.
right.
When I thought of his work, I thought of it as later, a little later than that. Um,
So,
19, wait a minute, just hold on. 1910 um, just after I think Cézanne passes away in 1906, and there are
Mm.
very strong paintings of Picasso in 1906. So when I look at his work, Rousseau, I think 1925,
Mhm.
1935, 1945. I don't think of it as the same period. Someone wanted to say something.
Yeah, it's Carol. I'm just wondering why you call him an outsider artist. I don't see it.
Uh, well, outsider art is usually artists that are self-taught, artists that or have a certain peculiarity about them, um, singular, uh, slightly peculiar, or very peculiar. Um, it feels to me like every box is checked.
Okay.
I mean, that's just my take.
Okay.
But but self-taught. Um, uh, but he has a bit of a reputation, and then his reputation bursts forward after he passes away. Let me just keep going.
Hmm.
Um,
Beautiful.
so these are some of I've thought to include some of the paintings which he purposefully showed, which are smaller, and he wanted those for um, homes, people's homes. He had a very difficult economic time, and okay, so it's another one. This is the artist. A lot of times he's pictured with a kind of strange, uh, billowing hat. Um, you'll see that if you look him up. This is an early self-portrait. Uh, this is an interesting painting in that it's a painting of painters bringing their paintings probably to the independent salon. And it has the whimsy and humor of his paintings. This is a very interesting painting with the portraits above the two people. This is, I believe, Apollinaire and a female painter, whose name I forgot for a second, a painting of them as a couple. Very childlike, um, fanciful. uh, beautiful descriptions of trees and branches and the movements and the rhythms within the trees and branches. Um, does a series of paintings of jungles and creatures in jungles, mostly monkeys, but other creatures as well. And possibly was influenced by newspapers and magazines which devoted articles to colonialism. Um, Not sure about that, but I could see someone theorizing that. There's a there's an interesting essay by a writer named Guy Davenport, and the essay is called um, maybe it's not the title of the essay, but one chapter in it is called "What Are Those Monkeys Doing?" Okay, so he calls it "What Are Those Monkeys Doing?" And um, he has an interesting take on this, Davenport. He says that the monkeys are copying um, an Englishman or someone of some upper class English type who has come into the jungle with a back scratcher and a water bottle. And the monkeys are copying what they saw the English upper class gentleman doing. Um, it's an interesting theory, I think. Very, very, very funny. And there's something funny about this too, but it's also not funny. Um, in the catalog for this exhibit, there is a conjecture uh, written in terms of an essay by one of the curators, a woman named Martha Lucy, and she writes about um, that there is a underground or under the table sexual connotation to Rousseau and his work. And that also struck me as very interesting. And that I had the the chance to read, and I saw this exhibit three times. So over like 4 days, uh, I saw it three times. And so after reading Martha Lucy's essay, I saw it with her eyes, and I thought she had something. She was onto something. You'll see more in terms of this. This is a very large painting, like 6 feet or so. This is a little light. The painting is darker and more mysterious, and it strikes me as fascinating that a self-taught artist, um, maybe an outsider artist, I'm not sure, but in any case, either self-taught or outsider, would have a composition like this that is so strong and elemental, bold. So I think I chose this one because it was a little lighter, because the actual painting You can barely see the snake charmer. It's all dark. It's really better than this. And you see all the snakes coming around. Um, Now this painting is this painting was not in the exhibit. I think it's at the Museum of Modern Art. This painting is enormous, very, very big painting. And I can imagine um, Rousseau painted this for the salon exhibits. It's a very well, besides the fact that his paintings are very graphic, you could see they're very ambitious, extremely ambitious scale and pulse to them. Um, okay.
Buffalo, tiger.
There's a number of paintings of animals in jungles, and this painting had an animal that was quite ferocious within this jungle scene.
Simon, do you know if he ever went into a jungle or had
I
adventures in jungles somewhere?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think this is all done from books or his memory or it, I don't think so. At this time, there's a great interest in exoticism and in outsider, the way outsiders live in this type of world. But he really is going at this. So it's not like there are many other artists doing this. Um, this is very singular. Um, the last room has just three paintings in it, and this is one of them. The other one was the painting with the bear and the woman, and the other one was the snake charmer. Those three paintings. This painting, uh, I don't know, to me is a tour de force. This is a hands down great painting. Um, and if you think about Martha Lucy and her statement, um, it's quite a sexy painting. Um, but you can't figure it out. I mean, it's like it eludes you. Um, in Martha Lucy's writing, she points to the tail of the lion and the hair on the lion's neck and the eye of the lion. But I mean, whatever you could point to, it is so enigmatic and magical that it's really hard to take in. And the musical instrument mirrors the garment, and then there's a jug on the side, and it 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 looks like childlike, but it's not for children, and it's just such a strange painting. Um, so then, just to keep going, here's some images of Barnes's collection. So if you remember the way I said it was displayed, so here's the painting by Rousseau in the middle, and then you see on the top you see all these metal things, and then you see the furniture, more metal things, and images, paintings that talk to each other. Is another room like this. So in this one, I believe the middle one is a Matisse, and then to the left and to the right are Rousseau. And then you see all this metal work, and you see the table below and the other pieces of furniture. So Barnes theorized that all of these objects speak to each other and could not be moved for eternity. Isn't that something? I never encountered anything like this. No paintings are on loan. They can only be seen there. And for a long period of time, Barnes didn't believe in color reproduction. He thought that color reproduction wasn't good. So all these paintings were reproduced in black and white. Um, it's a real character.
Yeah.
Okay. This was particularly striking, this presentation. So you have here uh, African art, African masks, two Picasso
Right.
self-portraits, and two
Modigliani.
Modigliani.
Yeah.
Um, and it's truncated, but I'm positive that above are these metal pieces of sculpture and ornaments, and on below the same. Um, so to end this, I included this drawing of my own, which I wasn't sure if this was an intrusion or not an intrusion, but I thought, oh, I could get away with this for this class. Um, so I had a very nice correspondence with Mr. Guy Davenport, and I remember sending him a photograph of this image, and he very, very smart man. When I wrote to him, I had to do push-ups and sit-ups and run around the block a few times, and then I would send my note to him. Uh, anyway, so he wrote back to me and he said he thinks uh, I'm sorry, he thinks that Henri Rousseau would have loved this drawing, and I was very struck by what he said, and but little by little, I began to think that there's something in these branches that relates to Rousseau in a way. Um, so um, I I think I could take like 5 minutes of response or 10 minutes of response or questions if you have any.
Can you explain, can you explain to me what it means to have paintings talk to each other?
La 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 la. Uh, well, I didn't mean it like that. I meant uh, the blues speak to the blues, the oranges speak to the oranges, um, the linearity speaks to each other, um, the beards speak to each other, um, asceticism speaks to each other. Um, the the portraits are of people with glasses. Um, it's could be anything, but it has to do with Barnes's theory about art. So Rousseau, uh, he did not want to show Rousseau by himself. He wanted to show Rousseau in this panoply of art. I mean, books speak to each other. It, Guy Davenport had a theory that writers and artists speak to each other. In other words, an artist thinks about another artist when they do their work. So I have spoken many times to Dura, but I can't call him on the phone. But he every now and then he speaks to me on the phone. He says to me, "Keep it going, man. Keep it going. You're doing great." And once I had a studio. I was working on that triptych, and I had a studio. You it wouldn't make sense to you, but it's on Fourth Avenue and 24th Street in Brooklyn, and was like a low key factory section. And my studio was there, and I was working on this huge painting. And um, someone came to visit, and they were talking about my painting, or they were talking about Dura. And I never thought of saying this, but all of a sudden I said, you know, I think that if Dura was flying in the sky in Brooklyn, and he looked down at me in this studio and saw my painting as he flew by, I think as he was flying, he would smile and keep flying off. So that's conversation, no? I think. I mean, I would like to believe that.
Is it sort of like being in the same vein of?
Yeah, yeah, or being a non sequitur, or being Meshuggah, it's just it's it's a conjecture.
I like to
Uh,
think of it
it,
as comparing and contrasting, you know.
yeah, yeah. But actually, I think Davenport's idea makes a lot of sense. I think, for instance, if you think about the artist Balthus, okay, I think that he thought a great deal about Courbet.
Hmm.
And in fact, I think Courbet thought a great deal about Balthus. And in fact, Courbet's best paintings look like they've been influenced by Balthus. But that can't be.
Right.
That's
Okay.
what I was gonna
But
say.
but I believe that. I really believe that. Okay. Uh, any another question or thought?
Well, Simon,
Yeah, yeah,
I would just on the same subject, the way you guided us to choose two different paintings for some of the classes and compare and
yeah,
contrast, I
yeah,
think that added to our enjoyment and our
yeah.
understanding of each of the paintings. And maybe that is what was in Barnes' head also.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. That's great. Thank you. That's great. But the when I first heard about Barnes, I thought he was wacko, really wacko. But I've seen this collection, I would say five, seven times, and he gets smarter and smarter every time I've seen this. I mean, he's way ahead of the curve. I mean, there's a room that has the Seurat in it. You'll see it if you go online. And then in that room, it has a whole grouping of Cezanne and Matisse. I mean, I would bet that room is like $5 billion,
Oh, more.
maybe more. I don't know. I don't know. You know, really crazy, crazy stuff. Uh, a lot of Renoir. I'm not
Yeah.
crazy. I'm not crazy about Renoir to
I
that
mean,
degree. Some is good, but this is way. This is like 100 Renoir.
I agree.
A lot of
Um,
a lot of Cezanne too, I
That
think.
I
yes,
like.
yes. So Ann Piper, have you been to
Yes.
this place?
I have been to the Barns just once.
Is
And
is
yeah,
is my portrayal of it on target?
it is. It is. When I went, I was confused at first, trying to see things, and they were organized strangely, and I didn't quite know the whole story. So at first it was kind of annoying just to try
Yes,
to see
yes.
things. But then there's so much there, and you kind of get into a rhythm of looking at things in different levels and next to other things, and it just sort of it became a little bit better as I went through it. And of course, there are so many pieces I wanted to see, but you're absolutely right. It seems it's very odd to begin with.
Oh,
Very
you reminded me of something as well.
Mhm.
When they moved the building, I mean they didn't move the building, they recreated the building. Um, they added a place for exhibits. So it's not exactly the same building, but it is the exact same galleries in
Yeah,
with the
the layout.
exact same layout, but they've added this extra part, which are exhibits.
Right.
Um, Another question?
No, I just want to say by sheer coincidence that uh, just read Moon and Sixpence by Somerset Maugham, and that's supposedly about him. And it's really, it's not a very good book. It,
It's supposed to be about Barnes?
no, it's supposed to be about Henry Rousseau. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. I didn't know that. I didn't
Oh,
know
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and but it doesn't explain anything at all, really, as to why he turned into a painter. And I have been to the Barnes. I think the addition to the building architecturally is really quite beautiful.
I just want to make sure that everyone's involved here. Um, Alan, have you been to that museum?
Okay. I had been to the original museum, but many, many years ago, something like 15 years ago. Um, and I don't have a whole lot of memories of that at that time.
John, have you been there?
I did not go to the original. I kicked myself because I wanted to see the original museum. I've been to the foundation, I think they call it now. It about I'll say 4 or 5 times. I really, really enjoy the Barnes. It's uh, it's jam-packed. I like it in all its quirkiness.
Yeah, it's
I
amazing.
mean, it is stock full of some, some of the greatest hits of art.
So I'm going to end this with Ron, and I wonder if you could say a short paragraph about your relationship to the Barnes collection.
Well, as you know, that attorney general who caused Barnes to have to open his collection was my mother-in-law. And she was a wonderful woman, wonderful jurist and attorney who became the first woman to be an attorney general of a state in the country. Her name was Ann Alpern from Pittsburgh. And there are wonderful things, wonderful stories about the process of getting it open. We can't talk about that now, but I find it's just exhilarating to think about his notions now, because I think rather than a quirky outsider, one begins to appreciate his sense of a kind of unity in art and a kind of populism about art, that the low blacksmith has creative instincts that are equivalent to those of the great and recognized artists.
Well said. Well said.
And to combine the things from pre-Columbian ceramics to Gothic altarpieces with modern art, there's a brilliance to that goes beyond his weirdness.
Very well said. Extremely well said. I think this is a good point to stop for the first class. Very dense, a lot of information. So I'm going to later tonight send you a recording of this, or I'll send it tomorrow morning. And I'll reiterate the dates for the classes. Sorry about the April 1st. And I've enjoyed this tremendously, and I hope that you have as well. And um, anyway, thanks, and see you for class 2 next time.
Yep. Good night.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Simon.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Simon.
Yeah. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Your ending is fantastic. I couldn't have. Yeah, I would say that you're the shill.
Well, it's such a compelling topic, but I have to tell you, Simon, that I feel some kinship with Barnes now, because I've been having to move our own collection to a totally new place, and thinking about how the different works
Speak to each other.
do speak to one another is
Yeah.
really fascinating process.
Yeah.
I've been, as you'll see, your etching now has many loyal friends.
Oh,
But
circles. Circles.
I've been putting things together in a way that has taken some rumination and thought and laying things out on the ground, and it's quite fascinating, what one thinks about and the ways that one relates some of these works to one another.
I again extend an invitation for you to come and visit.
I'd love to.
Yeah. So see what happens. I see I'm in the circle wall.
You're in the world of the circle.
Yes, I could see that. I see that.
But what I have below your work are a couple of roundels of Renaissance artist Stefano della Bella.
Huh.
And you're in good company.
Okay. Okay. I'm with the circles.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me that up in my studio, I'm working on a huge painting which has the circular motif.
Yes, the children.
Yes, yes.
In their...
I think of you often, and I think of my visit to you, which was super, and I think of where Washington and the government has gone to since I visited, and it's not good.
No,
Not good at all.
I have to tell you that my current chippy of the last year and a half happens to be Jamie Raskin.